If your car is running a little rough and the mechanic suggests that you bring it in for a tune-up, you may want to look somewhere else. Our own auto guy, Brian Bowersock of West Escondido Auto here is here to tell us why. Good morning, Brian.
Good morning.
So if somebody says you need a tune-up, I mean, most of us go, okay, well, take it away.
The term tune-up doesn't really exist anymore. What that used to mean was replacing distributor caps, rotors, spark plug wires, things like that. Most vehicles have actually gone away from that. We don't even have a distributor in most cars anymore.
Wow.
So what we've gone to is simple things such as this is actually a coil, takes the whole place of the distributor cap, rotor, and all that, and sits on top of the spark plug. So when you say tune-up, a lot of these components used to get replaced that just don't exist anymore.
Well, does this one have to be replaced, so there should be maybe another term, or does it last longer than, say, these old components?
Well, they definitely last longer than the old components, and also spark plugs do have to be replaced. We need to replace them at recommended intervals. Coil boots do sometimes have to be replaced, but the rest of the stuff, what we typically recommend to people when they ask for a tune-up, because a tune-up these days, when you come in, you replace spark plugs and coil boots, normally doesn't fix any problem you're having with your vehicle.
Okay.
So what we recommend is that we actually diagnose the vehicle for any drivability problems, and then, you know, on regular maintenance intervals, replace the plugs and coil boots and things like that.
Well, do the drivers tend to be surprised then? Because if they think, oh, you get a tune-up, you have kind of a price range in your mind. But if it's running rough and these components aren't there anymore, then obviously something more sinister is probably wrong.
Absolutely, and can be. So people often question, you know, tune-up's been around so long. People come in, I'd like to get a tune-up. Well, in most cases, that means replacing the spark plugs. That's it. There's no really other components to do with it. So, and when people ask for a tune-up, it's typically because something's not right with their vehicle. So that's why at that point we recommend we actually get to the point of what's wrong with it and then do the maintenance to follow up on it.
So are there typical things then that are wrong if people are still thinking, oh, it sounds a little rough like a tune-up would have been 10 years ago? Are there certain things that typically are wrong?
Absolutely. We've had coils sometimes fail now instead of, you know, you don't have the other components. Spark plugs, people often go past the recommended interval to replace them. So sometimes, yes, you get spark plugs that break down and fail. Coil boots. Plugged filters, people don't replace their filters when they should. So really what we try to keep people on is a recommended maintenance interval, replacing these things, and then staying on top of the maintenance of the vehicle, and then the tune-up thing doesn't exist really anymore.
Now, are spark plugs different than they used to be? Are they lasting longer like these other components, or are these the one kind of thing that aren't quite as advanced?
Absolutely. Most vehicles have gone to what's called a platinum spark plug, which this is, and they're platinum coated. They tend to last up to between 60 and 90,000 miles, whereas normal spark plugs used to be about 30,000 miles. So everything is lasting a lot longer. Most manufacturers are recommending around 90 to replace the plugs, and that's when you replace the coil boots. The coils should be fine if you do that maintenance, and there's not as many components to be replaced anymore.
So if a repair person does say, hey, you do need a tune-up, what should you ask that person to make sure that they're giving you what you actually do need?
What components are actually replacing, because pretty much all they're going to do is replace the spark plugs, maybe a couple filters, air filter, fuel filter. There is no timing to set. There's no carburetor to adjust anymore. All that has gone. There's no points or condenser, and a lot of even newer technicians don't know what those are. They went away a long time ago in the 70s. There's no cap and rotors. There's just very minimal on a tune-up to do. It's pretty much replace the spark plugs, maybe a fuel filter, air filter, and then any recommended other maintenance as far as valve adjustment, things like that, per the manufacturer.
All right, and so if people are replacing, I know it's a wide range depending on your car and a variety of things, but if you are getting your plugs and a few filters replaced, give us some kind of range of what you would expect to pay them for this quote-unquote tune-up.
It can really vary. The reason why is some of these vehicles, like coil-over, the Ford pickup trucks, are about 3.5 hours labor to replace just the spark plugs.
Wow.
Mercedes-Benz, some of them are even longer. So you can range from $200 to $900 depending on what services are being done and what's being replaced.
And still be legitimate with that kind of a range depending on the make of the car.
Absolutely, absolutely. And that kind of comes back to know the people that are working on your vehicle, quality people, a trustable shop. It's recommended by somebody.
And once again, just making sure you're doing all that routine maintenance so that you're not caught at the last minute.
Routine maintenance will actually save you money. If you stay on top of it, you don't have problems with, you know, we've talked about the spark plug thread problem and things like that in past episodes. But it will save you money in the long run if you just stay on top of what's recommended for your vehicle.
All right, thanks so much, Brian. Always good
Thank you.
information and making sure you're staying safe out there on the road and keeping your car running. If you have more car questions for Brian, just drop him an email. The link to his website is on ours at fox6.com. Just click on Hot Topics.